Have you ever heard of this saying, the less I know, the better? That's a saying as old as time began. Everybody knows that saying, and to some degree it is true. The less you know, it's always better because at least you don't have to live in that reality of it being in your reality or just the truth. And I think once reality sets in for most people, that's when your emotions can start to spiral, your electrical emotions, because you are a water being. And water is conducted in ways that we are, as humans, tailored towards motion. What I mean is, the reason why you are alive right now is not just because you're just made of this electrical being, but because of fluidity throughout your body allows your body to have movement and therefore be alive, sentient, conscious. So water itself is a conscientious substance and the source of consciousness. Now, if you were to make a water AI, it wouldn't just start walking and, programming a PC on its own, but water does build the conditions for sentience. And I say all this to say that's a deeper understanding of just water itself. But in fact, like we all know, knowing that does give you a bit of a deeper understanding of emotion, your emotion, your electrical motion. So now you have water tailored towards your body, and it is an electrical pulse that interacts with the motion of your body. You see how that works? We are electrical beings that are made of water and conduct these emotions throughout our body. So me as a young kid, stuff like that was just things I never really even thought about or interpreted. I kind of just thought, oh, we're just in space, etc., whatever, right? There's rocks going, there's protons, there's atoms, all that. But I think something that what I'm presenting in this video right now is that deeper understanding of critical thought, I think, paralyzes us and plagues us today. And what I'm getting at is the reference of critical thinking skills that are actually destroying society. So the lack of thinking is our solitude in wanting good grades, going to school, wanting a good career. And when you have a bunch of computational advanced monkeys making all these complex systems, there's going to come to a point of time where it reaches escape velocity and those systems itself are no longer needing the humans that occupied it once before. What I'm getting at is, if you know anything about the job field or anything of that plethora, the workforce, a lot of jobs are plaguing and becoming useless. Humans are being replaced, robots are coming, and it's an inevitable feat until AI reaches the escape velocity of fiercerity and destroys everyone's job. And it sounds insane, but it's only a matter of time, not when. And I say this because the rise in critical thought of the common few have suppressed the lower echelon. You see what I'm getting at? I also believe that the rise in critical thought and the opening of the true veil and curtain that has been pulled over us, just in general, is plaguing us even more. What I mean is, have you ever heard the saying, or just like a lingering paradigm, that when you want to fall in love with someone, you kind of have to play dumb? You kind of have to be the fool? Well, the rise in critical thought is also destroying relationships as well, because the more people think, the more they know, the more they overcapitulate, but the more destruction happens when people have an actual interpretation of what matters or what it is to be in the know. And, apps like TikTok, especially during COVID, Twitter, these applications were offering information and things that you didn't even know, and now IG Reels to some degree. And less so of distracted information, but a lot of things that you probably even wanted to know or didn't even know, right? So during COVID, we had a prominent figure that we all know and love, Andrew Tate. Okay, love him or hate him, he was everywhere. Okay, you literally could not open your phone without seeing Andrew Tate. It was impossible. And I say this reference because Andrew Tate was bringing forth information that hadn't been brought forth to us in general just before. And it got so bad to the point where they had to remove him off of platforms, right? And some of his rhetoric was really bad. It was saying that women didn't deserve much or are bad or are just defective as a cause to society in general. And I think that in some of his sayings, there's merit, but it's more so the generoscopy of it. The general information of it kind of fucked up everybody because it was a evil way to bring forth information. And you can argue whether or not he's right or wrong, but the grandstanding is that it was offensive and hateful conduct. Regardless of this, applications like X is arguably one of the reasons that the election was even swayed in Donald Trump's opinion. Now, there were liberal TikToks and liberal tweets and liberal agendas being pushed, but I think that when people started to dig deep critically through information, they started to see that the information that they thought they knew actually turned out to be a lot more of a deep rabbit hole than we thought before. And I would like to say that a test to this is people's understanding of geopolitics and how certain figures play puppet masters in the back end of the script of the world. And what I'm getting at is that people's critical analysis of this, which was already prominent, but it hadn't gotten this close until people used the internet to their advantage to become as successful as some of the people who were controlling the world. So a streamer, a YouTuber, a TikToker, an influencer is just as powerful as your local senator, right? In terms of influence or you get what I mean? So your streamer is just as big as a celebrity. And so but the relation between streamers and viewers is a little bit closer than celebrities beforehand, because celebrities, Hollywood, they kind of have their own thing going, right? If you want to really interact with them, they're in the hills, right? You have to go to the hills to even see them talk, or you have to wait until they do an interview to do a press release of a movie that they're doing. But with the touch of a finger, you can boot up a streaming app, and this same person has the same amount of influence and power as this once before mega celebrity is now at the touch of your fingers. So now that you have this critical analysis thought, it is also the preoccupancy of everyone's lingering thoughts in the back of their head. What do you mean that there's influencers, right, podcasters who have the president on their show, right? Theo Vaughn, Andrew Schultz, Joe Rogan, right? These are people that, oh, well, you know, we seen Joe Rogan I went to a UFC show. I seen Joe Rogan there before. That's weird. You know, so that continuity and how close you can have a relationship to some of these figures, I think, is a critical thought that people are kind of going over and not really seeing how this is destroying the future. Now, I know there is a slight rise in intellectualism, which is not really anti, it's just that the rabbit hole is going a bit over. Now they're over informing and coming down these, you know, crazy conspiratory things that just are not empirical. But regardless, I believe that the thought process of critical analysis today is plaguing people. People think that we're having a stupid crisis, but we're having an overanalysis crisis as well. They're both happening at once, because the overanalysis is that the common few who are creating things like your ChatGPT or new AI, right? Some smart ass kid in the basement, versus the kid who's using ChatGPT or someone who's doing that, right? They're now outsourcing their brain to these technologies. And now that people are using their brains towards these technologies, they're effectively using that intellectual paradigm throughout their day. And I was watching a video of another guy who is an Oriental guy, and he was basically saying that people have a copium towards saying that the algorithm is sourcing them things and giving them brain rot. But what the actual truth is that people are not even beginning to make the attempt of what they want to see to search. So if you want to figure out or try to at least fix your hippocampus, and which is a part of your brain, and try to at least get back in the notion of understanding critical thought, or at least having your own thoughts, is make the attempt to even go to search what you wanted to look at instead of just doom scrolling. So I think that critical analysis of the common few are creating an entire epidemic for the bottom half. And so since that is the case, I believe that time will come to a point where the geniuses who are making your new AIs, your new software, scale AI, and all this cool, crazy shit, right? These are the people who are going to be controlling the world. And the little bottom few who are kind of stuck in that spiral of forcing to use ChatGPT, right? They're not that smart. They're not that tech savvy. They're not that brilliant. They're forced to fall susceptible and become that peasant, you know, that little puppet master. But I think that people are saying that, you know, we're looking at a bunch of dumbasses, but I think that we're looking at a bunch of antiquated ideologies that are not catching up to technology's advancements. And we're also looking at the rise in intellectualism in younger individuals on average. So younger kids are a lot more smarter than older people who are supposed to be more smarter on average, but are a lot less because of their sort of day-to-day lives. And so some kid, right? Some Fortnite kid is really good at coding, and he's really good at making, you know, AIs and programming and all this like cool computer stuff, and that's the future of his finance. But he's not going to know, you know, how to change a tire or what to do, pound star, or you know, if he has to live in real life, right? So any sort of street smarts, they're kind of lost. But the millennials, right, the older generation, they have that keyhole because of the experiences that they had. They had to be in the real world. They had the street lights at certain time, right? And I think that generation by generation, some individuals, like I would say myself, I'm sort of in that bell curve where I was born in 2003. I kind of had that good generation of like OG stuff, nostalgic stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's some nostalgic stuff? You know, the TVs with the booty in the back. Remember those plates made with animals? Kids bop it, like little nostalgic things, right? And then I also got to experience the new generation of things, right? So I'm right in that bell curve, right? But for, you know, your 1990s, your 1980s, these are the I would say more wiser figures, right? But now you have, you know, imagine being born in 2010, right? You're 15 right now. I think that's how it works, right? Yeah, you're 15 right now, and you know the president is getting exposed for being a pedophile ring, and you're like, what is that? And so, but you also watch Joe Rogan, and you're like, well, Joe Rogan just talked to Mr. Trump. What the crust is that? So he was talking to a guy who's covering for a bunch of pedophiles. It's like you're kind of sitting in this world, and I think the reason this is even prominent is because of Elon and Elon buying Twitter and putting real true things out there. Now there's some fake news on there and some fake propaganda, but a lot of the times the things that were being brought forth was the truth. And I think that was what that form of intellectuals, whether that be the ones putting out the information or the people interpreting information or the people conducting on or acting on the information, that was the antithesis to, or that is the antithesis today. That's what people are plagued by, whether that be relationships, whether that be finance, whether that be career path, jobs, anything you're looking for. That's a huge problem in people's day-to-day lives. The very minority creating most of the problems for the very majority. Oh my God. In this sort of crucifix for the truth of knowledge and the pursuit of knowledge. And that's really it. I mean, I just kind of wanted to yap about that and what I think about critical analysis. I think that everyday day-to-day lives of people actually questioning things or having deeper interpretations of things are kind of the problem. Also, real quick, on an entertainment basis and a Hollywood basis. So that is also another problem, which is that, you know, before you didn't really know what Barney looked like. You didn't know Barney was doing drugs or had like all these cases, right? So as a little kid, you're like, oh, it's Barney. But then you realize that, you know, fucking Blue's Clues or Steve or something like that, you know, stuff was going on. And when you look at, you know, podcasts like Declassified's class, and they start spilling tea and they start talking about things that happened on the show and how they weren't even getting paid, you as a kid were like, oh, I thought these were the coolest kids ever. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to be on Disney Channel as a kid, and now you're like, oh my gosh, I probably shouldn't have been on Disney Channel. Fucking Dan Schneider's a fucking what the fuck. So I think that veil, right? And what I'm getting at is it better to be like, let me just let Hollywood make me a bot and just let me just enjoy the stupid distraction, the stupid media, because outside of that, everything kind of is boring. After you get the $1 billion yacht, after you get the $1 billion penthouse and the girlfriend and the wife and the kids and the thing, you kind of sit there and you're at your retired state and you're kind of like, well, now what's next? You know, before I could just enjoy sitting and watching some show with some stupid celebrity who nobody cares about, right? And now it's kind of like we've kind of pulled back the veil. Everyone's wanted to know so much about the show that we pulled the curtain and the puppeteer has been revealed. So that's kind of where I'm at, where I'm just like, I think that people overthinking so much and over analyzing and over critically looking for things and really looking for the truth is why things now in society feel so slow and boring, and everything's kind of like, you know, it's like, how many more vacations can I go on? You know, how many more mountains can I go see? So that's it. that's my video. Okay, if you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, comment down below your thought process on this whole debacle, and I will see you guys in the next one. Okay? Or, sorry, I forget my own outro. I will see you when you're older. Team H&K signing out. Over 1,060 subscribers.